would like to give a huge shout out to Gun Central Shop. This is where I get all of my third party model kits. They have been a huge supporter to the channel. So if you are looking into getting your own third party model kits, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description.
Hey, what is up everyone, and welcome back to The Animus, and today we are reviewing the Megacore Industries Oberon. Let's get right to it. Alright everyone, so jumping straight into the review, and the tools that I used for this build was my nippers and my hobby knife. Due to the fact that this kit is undergated, there was very minimal cleaning that needed to be done while I was building it, which was great considering that that also saved me a lot of time when it came to other things like, you know, making sure that all the parts fit and not having any issues. Now, keep in mind that this kit did not have any fitment issues whatsoever, but I do have to warn my viewers and anybody else that's watching this video that's interested in getting this kit that they do have high tolerances for the painted parts, and the painted parts are going to be the ones that are gold. Those are the only parts that are painted on this kit because they are not metal injection, but I do want to say that the coating is laid on a little thick on those parts, and that's what makes them a little bit harder to work with, if that makes sense, when you are trying to put those joints and pegs together, because it does run a little tight. Now in this part of the segment, I usually try to show you guys whatever extra parts the kit brought, but this kit had no extra parts. So when you are building this kit, the only two parts that are for this, and it's not even like for the build itself, it's for the base. It does bring these two pieces, which are adapters that you use to actually put the base together, or part of the base together, in case you want to put it on separately or you want to adapt it to the base. So they're not technically extra parts, they're just additional add-on parts for you to be able to get other modes for your base. Up next, we do have the hands. The hands that were included with this kit, it includes 4 pairs. I do have the open palm right now on the kit itself. They are static hands. They aren't those hands that you have to snap to build the fingers together and then they're all wonky. They're not like that. I know you guys saw the lizard, and you know, myself, my opinion, I don't like those type of hands, even though it did held onto the weapons correctly. I like more static hands like these that also come with pegs inside to hold weapons and such. So I do believe that these are very sturdy, and love the fact that they went ahead and coated them instead of doing the metal injection, because it gives it that nice metallic look. For panel lining, for those of you that are wondering, this kit does have a lot of panel line. When you are paneling parts that are painted like this, I would suggest giving it a little bit more of a coating before you do that, just in case, because when you're trying to clean it off or the excess off, you might take the paint off. You don't want that with these, because I believe that the color of this kit, like under that gold, is like the little plastic white, and you definitely want to avoid that if you can. Aside from that, you do have 4 sets of hands. You do have your trigger fingers right here. You do have your closed fists, and all these thumbs do move. So that's the only part that moves for this kit in its hands. And then you also have your little grappling hand right here in case you want to put on swords and stuff like that. And then you have your open palm hands, which are the ones that I currently have on the model. Next up, we do have the water slide decal sheet. It does have a lot of detail. This kit, I decided that I am not going to paint it, so I am going to apply these water slide decals after I apply a top coat, panel line, all the good stuff, and then I'm just going to apply it like this and then just leave the kit as is, because I do like how it looks aesthetically, at least. In my opinion, it looks really good, but for those of you that are interested in painting it, you probably want to save these for last. These do have a lot of detail to them, so just keep that in mind. And now for the next segment, we do have the weapons for the kit or extra accessories, and I have to say that I am actually glad that this model kit did not bring a huge, compendium of weapons and everything like that. They just kept it really simple with the actual beam rifle, the shield, and the sword with its attachments as well. The wings also do have weapons that you can use as blades, which we will go through whenever we do the part of the wings in this video. But I do want to bring your attention to these specific weapons here because of the detail. The shield itself has a lot of detail to include an inner frame shell. It does have a handle. It does have, you can actually see the magazines to where it just feeds to the rifle that comes through the shield. And I know we've talked about this before because we've seen it in other models that we reviewed on the channel, but this is a lot to me. Like, this means a lot to me when they do this, where the armors just go through the weapons like so. I just feel like that just adds on to the details of the model kit itself. Now, full disclosure, the kit brings these two pieces that go attached to the rifle, which we'll talk about in a second. And then when you're attaching that to the rifle, you will attach the hilt of these blades onto them to use it as either a stand, or you can go ahead and attach the beams like so to display the model like that. Full disclosure, I lost one of them, so you won't be seeing that on this video. I have no idea where it went. I tried to clip it off the runner and it just flew away. So just because if you don't see it on the clips when you see the kit posing, don't worry about it. I just didn't have it. Make sure that whenever you do cut them off the runner, they don't either fly away, and you just set them aside, or just install them straight on the weapon. For the rifle itself, I do want to bring your attention to all the detail that this rifle has. It does have a lot of color separation. It does not have gimmicks. The only gimmick that I noticed was that you can actually change the container from side to side. And then you can actually pose it very well. The weapon does pose very well with the model itself. You do have clear parts with details underneath, but overall, I think that the very simplistic look did go a long way when it came to this weapon. Up next, you do have the beam sabers here. So you do have two hilts for beam sabers. You do have two short beam sabers, and I'm glad that this kit didn't bring a whole bunch of effect parts and all that stuff. And then you have the blade. Now this is actually a very, very nice detailed sword blade, where you could just go ahead and grab one of these hilts and attach it to it, and it just looks good. It looks really good. It looks really good. So if you are looking into posing the kit with like a dual wielding or stuff like that, you can do that with these two attachments. So make sure that you set them aside and you don't lose them. Now, for what I believe is supposed to be like the best part of the weapons for this model kit, at least in my opinion, is going to be these funnels. These things have a ton of detail and gimmicks. Like I don't know, I'm not sure like what they were going for. I know that they were trying to go like for like a pen type of thing, but I think that this looks so unique for this model kit itself. You do have the port here for the barrel, and then you do have gimmicks where they open up if you're trying to pose it in the base where they're just flying around or something like that. You can also pose them like they're static, floating around the model, and you know, it just looks really good. Now up next, we're going to talk about the base itself. Now, we did talk about it a little bit when we did the unboxing, but I do want to bring to your attention that these types of bases is what now they're doing with most model kits, where they're keeping the pegs separate from the actual base itself. And I find it very intriguing because it's just a separate part. I'm guessing that it's just to give it a little bit more sturdiness and a little bit more space for the model to stand. So this actually, you can pose it in a few different ways. You can actually pose this separate from the actual base itself. As you can see here, you can just remove it and pose it however you want. And one thing that I did want to mention is that these right now, you can pose it by themselves separately, or you can pose them with the model. And I thought that was very innovative of them to do so. You do have some clear parts here, which look really, really nice. And then you do have the engraving on the base, which is great for panel lining. And of course, you do have the metal build style peg here and base to hold the model together, and it's very sturdy. Now for the base itself, the base does bring the actual clear parts for everything that you want to pose. In case you want to pose the funnels in a separate way, it does bring you all the additional parts, so you don't have any issues with it. Now granted, I want to tell everyone to be very careful with these, because these are a little bit they're a little bit flexible, because the plastic, see, I think all these companies are now using that, recycled plastic, so the parts are not that hard, which is fine, but you need to make sure that you're careful when you're posing it so you don't break the pegs or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. And now for the extra runner for this model. So the model does have two ways that you can build it. You can actually build it with a full gold detail, gold, white, gray detail, or you can use that runner that has the actual light purple for the armor segments. In my case, I did go ahead with the purple for the model. In my opinion, I just thought it looked a little bit better with the color contrast, but you do have the option to use in full gold, and it does look really good as well. Now for part of the main event of this model, and it's going to be the wings, and this thing has an enormous wingspan when you are posing this kit. So you know, it's a little tight when you're trying to do it the way what I just did, but when you're trying to spread the wings out, you have to be careful with those pegs, because I just heard it snap, and it's, you know, it's very careful. When I was putting this kit together initially, I did break one of these pegs for these arms. So I want you guys to be very, very gentle, so you guys don't break it as well. For some reason, mine is a little bit tighter when it comes to tolerances than others. I know people that have already built this kit as well and then have not had any issues when it comes to tight parts or anything like that. So I'm just hoping that this is just a one-off, and it was just my model that had that issue. So the wings have full expandability when you try to go ahead and expand it, and it just looks so good. You do have a lot of moving parts when it comes to the wings as well. So it's not like, you know, when you expand the wings, it just gives you that big wingspan that you're looking for when you're opening the wings up. And aside from that, you do have a lot of detail, surface detail for panel lining. You turn the wings around, you do have a lot of surface detail for panel lining, for rescribing, for, you know, if you're trying to do pre-shading, you do have a lot of surface detail for that. You also have a lot of detail on the plastics to include color separation between grays and whites with the actual kit itself. And no, the model does not hold the weight of the backpack by itself. However, if you are posing the model without the actual base, then there's these little pegs in here that the model includes that allow you to pose the kit without the base, with the wings open. Now, this reminds me of the little pegs that the Freedom GCP brings, and it does exactly that. It just holds the weight of the backpack so you can stand up your kit straight, and you don't have to worry about that. Now, aside from that, you do have the 2 extra additional weapons here, which you go ahead and attach to the actual hilts over there to create like a dual blade type of lance there. It looks pretty good in my opinion, but I like them better on the wings, and that's why I just left them here. And now for the Oberon itself. Now, this model kit is super nice. At first I was looking at it, I was like, you know what, your face is kind of ugly, but it's okay. And then I realized that they're trying to make it look a little bit more like an angelic type of mecha, which is great. You know, you do have a lot of surface detail for panel lining as well when it comes to the headpiece and the shoulder armor. So when you are thinking about that stuff, it does make a difference whenever you do panel line it, aside from looking at it all plain like I have it right now. That's why I mentioned, like, I will not be painting this kit, but I will be going ahead and panel lining it, top coating it, so that way we can get a little bit more surface detail. So like I mentioned before, I did go with the armors that are purple. I just like the fact that it does a little bit more color contrast instead of just having it, you know, 3-toned with the gold. To me, it looks good like this, but to other people, it might look better with just all gold, and that is fine as well. Now, for the flexibility itself, the head does go side to side. You don't have the full 360 degrees, but you do have a little bit bend up and down in case you want to do those air mobility or weapon posing for your model as well. For the arms, you do have whole turn around for it. You do have the shoulder that moves out in case you want to get those little harder poses to get to. The shoulder flaps do go up and down when it comes to the model. Just keep that in mind whenever you are posing this model kit, that you do have options when it comes to posability. You do have full turnaround of the arm, and unlike the Tastier, these don't fall off, which is great. You do have a double jointed elbow. For the actual hand, you do not have a lot of flexibility when it comes to the hand. It's just a peg that moves like from side to side, and then you can do the whole 360 with it. For the actual waist itself, you do have a little bit of an ab crunch there, and then it goes all the way back, and then it goes from side to side, and for those, you know, little bit of combat or dynamic poses. You do have some piston action in the waist as well, but I do want to tell you guys to be very careful when posing kits like these that have pistons on them, because if you over flex it, you might stress the part or break it. Definitely don't want that. Now for the actual other part of the waist, you do have complete 360 degrees without parts falling off of it, and it's been a while since I've had a kit that does that, that don't have any parts that fall off, and it was very refreshing. You do have your side skirts, and you do have your front skirt, which are completely dynamic for you to move whenever you are posing. And then going on to the back, you do have a lot of surface detail in the back with the peg insert for the backpack. And then you do have a little bit of surface detail for the back and the spinal column there. Now for the flexibility of the legs, I do want to mention something ahead of time. These are super tight, and you will see right now. That is how mine sounds. Now, I'm not sure if it's just mine that sounds like that because it has a lot of paint on it, but just keep that in mind whenever if you are getting this kit, that you have to be very careful when you are posing it, and try not to flex it so hard. Just try to make sure you just grab it gently and then gently push it, you know, in little increments, so you can go ahead and get that flexibility. Now for flexibility, you do have all full stretch of the leg there. You do have a full turnaround of the leg as well. Let me go ahead and bring this back. And then you do have full bend of your knee. And I want to bring your attention to how it details out whenever you are bending your leg. Now, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit and see how that leg stretches out, and everything stretches out with it. So you do have some thigh stretch there. You do have your thrusters in the back, and you do have your knee that expands. This thing looks really good in detail. Now for the feet, I am going to say right now that for the feet, I was a little bit disappointed because you only have like the back and forth, and then when you try to bend your toe, it's not that much of a bend. But the problem is that this specific part right here, if you're trying to do your toe bend, it kind of pops off a little bit, and it makes it harder for you to be able to get that toe bend. Now again, I don't know if it was just mine that was doing that, but just be careful when you are posing it so you don't break any of the clips on the feet themselves. Aside from that, you do have extreme detail when it comes to the thrusters on the legs, to include the actual thighs, and you do have a lot of surface detail for panel lining. And that is it for today's video. Go ahead and subscribe and leave a comment. I do reply to all of my comments, and I'm fairly active in the chat because I know that you guys sometimes leave a lot of your questions in the actual comment section. So I'm super active there. So go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me if you do like this model kit. Did you already get your own? Have you already built it? How is it going for you? How is it working out for you? And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.